Hello, everyone. Hope you all are doing very well. As many of you know, over the last few weeks, we've done some interviews with some of the individuals who have sung with East West Collective. This was something that a lot of people had requested. They wanted to know some of the singers that were involved. And today we have another guest with us, somebody who is a very old friend of mine, somebody who is incredibly interesting, very unique, which we will talk more about later on in the interview. But I would like you also, I want to encourage you to pop in your earbuds or wear some headphones today, because that will definitely enhance the video once you see who we are talking to. So hello, Mr. Tim Storms. How are you doing, brother?
I'm good, brother. Good evening. How are you?
Man, I'm fantastic. Doing well. I'm in Beijing. Tim is up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Tim and I have known each other for more than 20 years, I think.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. It has. So I'll kind of give everybody some background on how Tim and I met, how we know each other. Essentially, in 2000, I was touring with the group Acappella as a part of the intern program they had with Kenosis. And one of the cities that we were doing a concert in, it was Rolla, Missouri. I still remember it. We were doing this concert, and before the show started, someone introduced me to Tim and his wife. And of course, I had never met them before, but I knew who he was. And there's a reason I knew who he was, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But our group, Kenosis, asked Tim if he would sing with us that night. And he was amazing, and he said, absolutely would love to. So we get up on stage, and we're singing. And I remember the song that we started with was Get Right Church. Some of you will not know what that song is, but it's sort of a song that has this cool like bass line in it. And I remember when we started singing, I had never in my life heard anything so low. And so it was really, really difficult for me. I was the high tenor. It was very, very difficult for me to actually stay on pitch because it's such a low register. And I also remember that night, there was a college group that was there for the concert. They were sitting on the first few rows. And I remember once Tim started singing, I remember 3 or 4, of the kids, doing this, we're not worthy thing from Wayne's World or whatever. And so it was a crazy night. It was such a huge blessing for me to get to meet Tim. And that night we exchanged, cell phone numbers, and I thought I was the coolest guy in the world because I had a celebrity's, phone number. And so that was super, super cool for me. But Tim and I have done a lot of interesting things with each other over the last 20 years, some of which we'll talk about today. But Tim, if you would, I would love you to just kind of share with everyone a little bit about how you got into music. So what are some of your musical influences, and how did you get into music?
Yeah, for sure. I started in music at a very, very young age. I was always musically inclined. Grew up singing in the church, a cappella singing church, and developed an ear for music that way, and just really grew to love a cappella, all vocal music, and the way the harmonies intertwine and blend together. And along the way, I got to my parents actually began to listen to Keith Lancaster, who is the founder of the a cappella company, the group Acappella and ABB. He started out just him by himself, and then it grew into an evolution of groups, which ended up being a cappella. And I grew up listening to a cappella and loving their music, and had a dream to sing with them one day. But as I was growing up, my parents took me to a Christian college up in Michigan to hear the group there sing. It was a choir, and this dude stepped out and did a bass lead, and I remember looking up at my stepmom and I said, "Man, I'm going to sing like that one day." He impressed me so much. Man, I'm going to sing like that one day. And then through listening to Acappella, as far as influences go, I would be remiss if I didn't mention Wes McKenzie and Rodney Britt as my main influences on bass singing growing up. Huge influence on that. But then out of high school, I was on tour with one of the a cappella groups I sang with Freedom, actually. And we stopped at this Christian bookstore. And there, back when they had tapes, like cassette tapes, and I came across a tape of a bass singer named J.D. Sumner. J.D. sang with Elvis back in the day. J.D. Sumner and the Stamps Quartet, he sang with Elvis. Elvis always wanted him to drop and hit the low notes, but I got to listen to these tapes. I got volume 1 and 2, I think it was, and my brain exploded. It took my bass singing to the next level. I didn't realize that bass vocals, like human basses, could do what JD did. It was my first experience at hearing something low and smooth like that. I'm like, wow, notes, you can sing notes lower than that? Okay. Growing up, I had my parents bought me a keyboard, and it's a Yamaha PSS 460, and I've got a.
You've got it.
I've got it right here.
You still got it, man.
This is a relic. Wow. It's a Yamaha. Look at that.
Yeah, baby.
And my parents bought it for me as a toy. When I was like 12, maybe, I don't know. And I loved playing that thing, but it didn't go low enough for me. It went down to the C above. It went down to low C, right? And I learned how to sing bass at a young age. It never really had that voice changing phase, adolescent voice changing phase. It was just always kind of low. So this keyboard, it went down to low C. I'm like, man, there's got to be a way to make it go lower. And it had a synthesizer section on it, and I figured out a way to make it go to subcontra C. Subcontra, I don't remember what it's called. It's the C down at the bottom of the piano. Right. And when I found that, I was like, hey, all right. So, I'm going up and down the scales, and I get down to that subcontra C in like 8th, 9th grade. And in my mind, because my piano went only to there, that's all there was. And then fast forward to out of high school, and I hear J.D. Sumner, and I'm like, whoa, this is new. This is good. And so J.D. Sumner has been really the biggest influence on my bass singing. And I still listen to J.D. Warming up before I sing, I will pop in the JD CD, listen to some JD songs, and just get my voice going, and so great to warm up with, and he's I can't thank JD enough for what he's done for me musically and vocally. But I love that. Crazy. I love having him as an influence for sure.
Well, if you're going to have an influence that's a bass singer, J.D. Sumner's, that's pretty good. That's a good one. Oh yeah,
for sure.
For sure.
Man,
the Acappella company, who some people will be familiar with, some people won't be familiar with, which included Acappella, AVB, the Vocal Union, and maybe a couple other offshoots, but those were the sort of three main. It was just amazing. Last interview that I did with Elliot Robinson, It was interesting. He was talking about the fact that he had grown up with a cassette in the house. Growing Up in the Lord was an album from the Acappella company, and he and I were talking about how that the Acappella company had so many amazing bass singers come through that group, and it just so happens that you're one of those great basses that came through. I remember the first time I heard a recording, I think, of you like doing a step out with the Acappella company was on it was on Vocal Union's album.
Oh yeah.
It was Old Ship of Zion, and
yeah.
I remember just I
love that
just
song.
playing the song, and I'm like, holy mackerel, like who is this guy? It was just so weird. Hearing this person that sounded like a machine, almost, or some kind of a robot or something, not human, and it was just mind blowing. But I know you've had a long career in a cappella, and I know the a cappella world has been incredibly good to you, and
sure.
but I think that there's a couple of special moments throughout your career that I wanted to talk about real quick with you. And one of those came in the year 2000. This had just happened right before I met you in 2000. And this is one of the reasons I was so giddy, like a little school kid, because of what happened. So what happened in 2000?
So 2000, I was actually singing. Hold on, pardon me, frog in my throat. So in 2000, I was singing with a group in Branson, Missouri, called 50s at the Hop, and I would always warm up before the show at the piano, going up and down the scales and hanging out down toward the bottom of the piano, and the producers of that show were always telling me, hey, you should go break the world record for the lowest note. I'm like, and I've 2000 rolls around. I'm like, okay, I'll see what I can do, and I kind of wanted to do it because I just wanted to see if I could sing that low, and so yeah, in 2000 I broke the record for the lowest note produced by a human.
Okay, so you've since that time had your record broken, right, by a guy named Roger
Moniz,
Roger Moniz, right?
Yeah.
And then you had to go back and you had to recapture your record, right?
Right. Yeah, I broke it in 2000, and I think in 2008. And then Roger Moniz broke it in, I think, 2010. And then I took the record back in 2012. And that one was really, I really wanted to see if what I was singing, when you get down that low, you're just making vibrations. But I wanted to see if what I was producing vocally registered as actual frequencies down that low. And so we used a measurement mic and a meter, vibration tester, I guess you could call it. They're used for measuring like earthquakes. They're used for measuring dragster engines. They're used for elephant communication. And so actually had an engineer from this company come. He graciously said, hey, I'm going to come and run the equipment and test everything for you and make sure it's all legit and, do all the testing. And we did it in a controlled environment in a recording studio. And we did room level tests to make sure that, we wanted to get what the sound of the room is doing when everyone is completely quiet, and then measure that against what I was singing. Because when you're singing notes that low, volume wise, it's not a whole lot louder than the natural low frequencies that are flowing through walls, right? So anyway, that's a lot of technical stuff went into that, and
so how low when you did that? Okay, in 2012. Just to give some people an idea, I think it was like what 0.186 or 187 hertz or something.
Yeah, in 2012 it was 0.189 hertz.
0.189 hertz. Okay.
Yeah.
So just to give people an idea, I believe I've heard you say that would be like taking an entire piano, which has 8 octaves, I think. It would be like taking an entire piano, putting it next to the last note on a piano, and that would be where it's at.
Yep, set 2 pianos together and go all the way down to the left end, and there's somewhere around there's 0.189 hertz.
But that's mind blowing to me. But it wasn't only that you don't only have one world record. You also were given the title of the widest range of any human. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah, widest vocal range. So that one I actually can't remember if it was. Yeah, I think it was when I broke the first when I broke the record the first time. They had that range on there. Might have been when I broke it the second time. I don't remember. Anyway, it was 10 octaves before I broke the record, and again in 2012, because I went from my highest to my lowest. But then in 2012, all I was going for was the lowest one. So technically, they didn't. I wasn't going for that widest vocal range record in 2012, so they didn't tack on the couple extra octaves from when I broke the note in 2012. Right. So they've got the record at 10 octaves. So
man, that's nuts, man. That's crazy.
Half of it crazy. You can't hear it, and the top half of it you probably wouldn't want to hear. So there's an octave or so in there where
right. I understand. So then in 2012, right around the time, I think just after you had broken the world record the second time, another very awesome thing happened. So tell us about that. What happened in 2012?
Yeah, in 2012, Paul Mueller, who is a composer, Welsh, I believe, if I remember right. He did the music for William and Kate's royal wedding, and he's done several things since then, but that was the most notable that people would maybe identify with. And he and Decca Records put out a search, like a worldwide talent search, for a bass singer that could sing the E below low C, because supposedly that note hadn't been written into a choral composition. So they put out this talent search, and I heard it. I don't even remember how I heard about it. Might have been a friend online or something. Put out this talent search, and I thought, hey, I'll give it a shot. So the whole idea was that they were going to take this song that Paul Mueller composed and give it to the St. Petersburg Chamber Choir in St. Petersburg, Russia. They're world-renowned choir. They're amazing. Yeah. And so whoever wins this talent search is going to get to go record with the St. Petersburg Chamber Choir. So I thought, man, it's a Russian choir, certainly a Russian octavist, Russian basso profundo is going to easily win this, right?
Yeah.
And I thought there's no way I don't have a chance. I'm an a cappella bass singer. I need a mic. And so I put forth my best effort. They wanted a video of me singing down to that E. So just to kind of give them enough to work with, I sang down to that E, and then I took it down a couple octaves just using my laptop, my MacBook video camera.
I'm sorry, that makes me laugh, dude, when you say that. It's like just for good measure, I went 2 octaves lower. Not a big deal, but sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. You're fine. But I just, wanted to give him enough to work with. But anyway, I sent it off to him and thinking, yeah, there's no way I'm gonna get this. But I don't know, maybe a couple months went by, and I thought, oh, I'll give them a call and see, if they came up with a winner yet. And to my surprise, they said, "Oh, you're in the running. You're like the top 3 or something like that." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And they said, "We'll be in touch with you in a day or two." So they called me the very next day and said, "Hey, congratulations, you got the part." And it was like out of 300 or 400 people that auditioned for it, and I was humbled by that because I'm not a choir singer. I'm not a basso profundo as far as, Russian octavists go. They project differently than an a cappella bass singer does, right? Or even a Southern gospel bass singer. But it was really, really cool because I got to fly to London and go to the Royal College of Music and work with a professor there in terms of, because I had to learn some songs in Russian, which is really cool. I love that language. But I got to work with this professor on the pronunciation and making it fit with the music as far as the phrasing and all that. And then we flew to Russia, to St. Petersburg, and my first meeting with the choir, we went into this very, very old building with super high ceilings, and it's like a maze of rooms to get back to their practice space, right? So I walk into this room, and it's not very big. It's maybe 15 by 20 sized room, right? And right as I walk into this room, I see the choir, 40 people, all spread out, kind of wrapped around the corner of the room. And some of them are sitting, some of them are standing, and they start this song, De Profundis. It's the song that Paul Mueller composed for them to sing. And the song starts with just one part, then the next part, then it just builds and builds until it's just this massive wall of sound. And it gives me chills thinking about it right now. And it was such an amazing experience, and it's something I will never forget, getting to record with them.
Man, that's amazing. And I've seen there are some like video, like little video clips and stuff online that are just amazing. Getting to watch you perform with this choir, and as you said earlier, I mean, they are the standard of choral groups. They're
right.
Mind blowing. They're fantastic. Love their sound. So you've reached a point in your life in terms of music where, I mean, there's nobody else, at least at this point, that we know of who's lower than you. You've won the Guinness Book of World Records. You've done some amazing things with like this choral group and other things that we don't have the time to talk about today. But you're sort of at this pinnacle. And anytime a person or like a team or like a team wins the Super Bowl or whatever, person reaches their pinnacle, that there's all these haters that come out of the woodwork. All these people that want to criticize. And one of the things I have noticed with some of the videos that people post online of you singing, most of the people are very nice.
Right.
They're very kind, like, holy cow, this guy's amazing, blah, blah, blah. But then there's also those folks who are trolls. They're jerks. They're not kind. And there's a lot of those.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of videos online. I'm curious, how do you deal with that kind of criticism that you sort of just naturally open yourself up to when you get to that point?
Yeah, it's people. It's interesting because when you're in the public eye, I've never considered myself famous. There was a joke we had in Branson. We're semi-locally famous.
You're semi-locally famous.
Yeah. But people kind of on the outside looking in, people that look at celebrities, they expect them, they have high expectations of them. They want them to look a certain way because they like a particular look, or they want a group to sound a certain way. Heaven forbid a music group change its members, right? Because that wouldn't fly with people because of people's expectations. As far as videos online, I've gotten to the point where I don't read the comments because there are a lot of haters out there. People that it's like their primary goal is to just belittle people and talk bad about them, and the comment section in YouTube videos and even on Facebook, social media is just a dark place, and it can get somebody down real quick if you're not super grounded. So I stay away from the comment sections, and people, it's like people expect you to act like a machine. They expect you to function like a machine, and man, I am so human. Even right now, my voice is super raspy right now, and I'm man, having asthma and allergies, it's a daily battle. There's a scripture in the Bible that talks about being patient in affliction, or with affliction, or whatever. And I've taken that to heart, because with asthma and being a bass singer, that's a tough mix. It makes it a daily battle, a minute to minute battle. My voice can be great at one minute, and the next minute it can switch, and all of a sudden I've got no lows or whatever. And so it can be pretty frustrating, and especially when people expect they expect perfection. A lot of people do. A lot of people are super gracious, like you said, online. People can be super nice, but then there are some that they're kind of passive aggressively saying, "Hey, you're not so great. I can do exactly what you do." And great, if you can, that's awesome. I mean, records are made to be broken. Somebody's going to break my record one day, and if they do, God gives all of us amazing gifts, and I'm not the only one with the gift of bass singing. There's a lot of great basses out there.
One of the things about you that and I really believe this, of all the people sort of in my life that I know personally and I know well, probably of anybody I know who would have the right to brag, if you will, would be you, because again, you have the ability to do something that no other human has done, at least yet. And yet I find that you are one of the most humble, gentle people I've ever met. And another thing about your personality that I just love, in 2018, I think it was that right? August of 2018, August of 2018, when we went to Taiwan together.
Oh yeah.
With Chad and Nick, Chad Barr, Nick Dunbar, and then you and Angie, your wife. it was so interesting to like be at an a cappella festival with the lowest bass singer in the world. It was interesting. Like, you're just my buddy, but it was interesting. I remember like the first day of the festival, we were in this theater. There's probably 200 people in there, and they were just going through some vocal exercises and warm up and everything. And then, the guy at the front, the director's like, and the basses do this. And then of course, like, you're like an octave under all the other basses. And I remember, like, once it was done, once that exercise was over and everyone was dismissed, there was a group of like 3 people sitting in front of us. And the kid stands up and he turns around and he was like, "Are you Tim Storms?" And it was so like, I hadn't even thought about, but you were like, "Yeah, I am," and you guys talked for a minute. But this was, and then there was a ton of people later that, came up and were talking to you. Right. And one of the things that I always love about you, anytime I've ever been with you and in those kind of settings, you always point people to your wife, who's always by your side and everything. But I love the fact that you bring attention to her, which I think is an unbelievable thing to show. Like, this is my partner. This is my real support. And I've heard you say this, but I know it's true. She's your biggest fan.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so I just love that about your personality, that you seem to be incredibly well grounded and just a super a very, I would say, self-effacing, very humble guy. And so I love that about you, and I appreciate that about you. So we've already talked earlier about some of the influences that you had, or some of the influencers that you had from bass singers. Right. Wes McKenzie, J.D. Sumner, and
Rodney Britt.
Yeah. Right. So now you're the influencer. I mean, you're one of those guys that people coming up who are bass singers look up to. Okay. So what advice would you give as an influencer to the guys that are coming up?
And this is one of the things that I mentioned in the when we were in Taiwan, and Tim Faust and I were able to do a session with the attendees there. One of the things I mentioned there was just always be true to who you are. Don't focus on trying to mimic what other people do. If you're focused on just being who you are, what you do will come across more genuine, as being genuine. I've like we talked about, I've had many influences as a bass singer. Lots of bass singers out there, and you're gonna pick up things from each bass singer, each singer that you listen to, and some of that will help you evolve as a vocalist, and that's okay, right? But it's still important to be you, to just be you, because there's only one you. There's nobody else like you. So you do you. And like you were talking earlier, my wife is my biggest fan. She believes in me oftentimes more than I believe in myself and my ability. And she's really good at constructive criticism. She's honest, but she's my biggest fan. She champion, or what's the word? She propels me forward. She
motivates you.
Yeah. That's the word. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, absolutely.
I could go on and on about my wife. I like her a lot.
She's wonderful. She's a wonderful woman. with East West Collective,
Yeah.
it's been a huge blessing for us as a group to. I mean, we have God has blessed us with some truly amazing singers to pull from.
Definitely.
And we are not short on amazing bass singers. Some of the guys that have done bass and that we will be interviewing later, it's
Yeah.
been wonderful to work with. But what was interesting is on the first album that we released, I knew that I wanted to do Amazing Grace because Amazing Grace is a hymn, of course, that's very well known.
Right.
And I've heard you several times do a lead vocal from Amazing Grace. And so I had asked you to do Amazing Grace in Mandarin.
Yeah.
And you were like, "Hey man, I've done Russian. Come on up to, come on up to Idaho and let's spend some time and do it." So I went up there.
I still remember some of those words.
There you go, man. Absolutely. Absolutely. It kind of sticks in your head, but
Yeah, it does.
we went through that, and it was an awesome process. But I remember, this is the interesting thing, I remember that once we were done with that, and I had some folks in China who were listening, I remember like studio sessions and different things when we were actually listening back to that vocal that you did.
Right.
It was so polarizing. It was so weird. I remember some people, they heard it and they were like, "Oh my gosh, this is crazy. This is amazing. Like I've never heard anything like this ever." And a huge smile on their face. And then others, I remember like this terrified look on their face, like, is this real? This sounds like a monster almost. This is like I'm kind of scared a little bit.
Right.
And so it ended up being so polarizing that though we kept the song on there because I wanted that there, we ended up doing a second version of the same song on the album done by Jarek Tan, who sang it in a
Right.
normal octave. And but man, it was that was one of the coolest things, getting to spend time with you, specifically on that one song.
Yeah.
But as I just said, you have a voice that's just it's incredible. And I think a good way
appreciate
for
that.
us to end this interview, if you were willing, would be to sing a little something for us. Would you be willing to do that for us?
I can do that. I will do the best I can.
All right, man. Absolutely. And maybe tell us what song you're going to sing. And
I'm gonna sing "Roll Jordan Roll," and I love this song. Acappella has done this song for years and years in concert. They do Fairfield 4's version, which Fairfield 4 and Isaac Freeman, the bass singer, holy cow, I love their version. But because I've been so influenced by J.D. Sumner. J.D. Sumner and the Stamps did this song as well, and I liked the beginning of J.D.'s version because he does the solo at the beginning. That's what I'll sing right now.
awesome.
Roll, Jordan, roll. Roll, Jordan, roll. I want to go to heaven when I die, to hear old Jordan.
You're sick, my friend. You are sick. Dude, I've been listening to you for sing for more than 20 years, 25 years.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
every time I hear you sing, I'm blown away. Man, thank you so much
appreciate that,
for spending some time with us today and sharing a little bit about your life and your gifts with
It's
us,
my
brother.
pleasure, for
I appreciate
sure.
it, man.
It's definitely my pleasure. I appreciate you having me on, man.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it, man. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
All right, you too. Bye.